Chapter 2, we're looking at adding, subtracting, multiplying and dividing. I've looked at multiplying in Chapter 1, revision over how to do long multiplication. Now I'm going to look at division. If I was asked to do 1728 divided by 18, instead of dividing by 18, I would break that up into a 6 and a 3, because 6 threes gives you 18. It just makes the sum a little easier. So if I go over to the side, and I do this recalculation, 1728 divided by 6. 6 into 17 goes twice with 5 over. 6 into 52 goes 8 times with 4 over. And 6 into 48 goes 8 times. Now I've got to divide by 3. So 3 into 2 doesn't go, carry over. 3 into 28 goes 9 times with 1 over. And 3 into 18 goes 6. So that's the easier way of doing that. Now, if I had a number that I couldn't break down, like 7533 divided by 31, 31 does not break down. And what I would do is I would go over to the side and write out my 31 times tables and just go up them in order. So multiplying by 2 gives you 62, multiplying by 3 gives you 93, multiplying by 4 gives you 124, multiplying by 5 gives you 155, multiplying by 6 gives you 186, multiplying by 7 gives you 217, multiplying by 8 gives you 248, and multiplying by 9 gives you 279. Then I would space out my digits, so 7, 5, 3, 3, and do your division, 31. 31 does not go into 7, so carry it over. 31 goes into 75, and if you look down the side, it goes in twice. Now, to work out how many's left over, take your 75 and take away 62. If you prefer to do that over the side, that's absolutely grand. So 75, take away your 62 to give you 13 left over. So carry it over. 31 into 133 goes 4 times. To work out how much is left over, you have 133, take away 124. So there's 9 left over, carry it over. 31 into 93 goes 3 times. And that's how you do your long division quick. Chapter 3 is all about decimals. When you're working with decimals, adding and subtracting go hand in hand. So for instance, if I had this, 8.67 minus 4.654, add 2.9. I would do that sum in stages. So there's 8.67 minus 4.654. And you all know when you're doing decimals, you line the decimal points up. Not take away 4 you can't do, so you borrow. Gives you 6104. And you've got to add 2.9 onto that. So 4.016, add 2.9, 619.6. Now, for that sum to be completely true, there should have been brackets around that. So it should have been, because that tells you to do your brackets first. That's what I had intended that sum to be like. So it should have been brackets around it. So adding, subtracting, just keep the decimal points in a straight line. Multiplying by decimals is slightly different. When you're multiplying by decimals, I recommend that you do it in 2 stages. So step 1, ignore the decimal point. Ignore the decimal point or points and do the calculation. And then in step 2, count how many decimal places in the question and starting from the right hand side, ensure your answer has the same number of decimal places. Now, I'll show you what I mean by that. So, if you had 3.21 times 0.56, I would do that sum by step 1, ignoring the decimal places and doing the calculation. So 321 times 56, just ignoring that decimal point. 6 ones are 6, 6 twos is 12, 6 threes are 18, plus 1 you're carrying 19. Put down a naught, 5 ones are 5, 5 twos are 10, 5 threes are 15, add your 1, 16. Just adding all that up. Now, this is where I'm going to insert the decimal point in my answer. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 decimal places in the question. So starting at the right, I'm going to count back 1, 2, 3, 4 decimal places. So I'm going to insert my decimal point there. So my answer is 1.7976. I'm going to do another one just like that. Say if I had minus 0.2 cubed. That means minus 0.2 times minus 0.2 times minus 0.2. Do it in stages. Multiply the first 2 digits. 2 minuses give you a plus. So it's going to be 0.2 times 0.2 if you want to go over to the side. 0.2 times 0.2 is what I'm trying to do. So I'll ignore the decimal point. 2 twos are 4. Count up my decimal places you had. 1, 2. So your answer must have the same. Now this time, if you start from the right, 1, 2, you've run out of digits. Put your decimal point there and fill any gaps in with a 0. So minus 0.02 times minus 0.02 is 0.04. And then I'm going to multiply it by minus 0.2. Now that's a positive and that's a negative number. This becomes a negative. I'm going to do this here over the side. We're doing more about negatives in the chapter in a few lessons time. So 0.2. So again, I'm going to ignore the decimal point. 4 twos are 8. Count up. I have 1, 2, 3 at the start. So my answer, if I put down my 8 and I count back, 1, 2, 3, decimal point should be there and fill in with zeros. So your answer is negative 0.008. Okay, that's how you do decimal multiplications. Now, division. With division of decimals, I would split them into 2. So division. And the easy one is division by a whole number. So division by a whole number. And what I mean by that is something like 57.95 divided by 5. If I have a number like that, I would go 57.95 divided by 5. 5 into 5 goes once. 5 into 7 goes once with 2 over. Just make sure your decimal point follows up there. 5 into 29 goes 5 times with 4 over. 5 into 45 goes 9 times. So your answer is 11.59. The second type is division by a decimal. Division by a decimal. Now, so say, for instance, the sum is 3.22 divided by 0.2. Now, first step, write it as a fraction. So write as a fraction. Now, what I mean by that is write 3.22 over 0.2. Step 2, move the decimal point. So move the decimal point on the bottom line so it becomes a whole number. And then move the top decimal point the same number of places. Now, what I mean by that, if you take your number 3.22 divided by 0.2, so I'm going to move this decimal point in the bottom so it becomes a whole number. So I need to move it once and it becomes 2. So I must move it once up here. So my sum becomes 32.2 divided by 2. 2 into 3 goes once with 1 over. 2 into 12 goes 6 times. And 2 into 2 goes once. I'll do another one of those. Say you had, try and look for a difficult one here. 288.9 divided by 0.35. So first of all, I would write that as a fraction, 228.9 divided by 0.35. This time I'm going to have to move the decimal point twice to get a whole number. So I have to move this twice. Anytime you're left with a gap, you fill it in with a 0. So that becomes 22890 divided by 35. Now instead of dividing by 35, what I'm going to do is 22890 divide by 5 and then divide by a 7. So I'll just do that now. So it gives us a wee bit of space. 22890 divided by 5. 5 into 2 doesn't go, so you carry it over. 5 into 22 goes 4 times, carry it over. 5 into 28 goes 5 times with 3 over. 5 into 39 goes 7 times with 4 over. And 5 into 40 goes 8 times. Don't forget to divide by the 7. 7 into 4 doesn't go, so carry it over. 7 into 45, 7 sixes are 42, so there's 3 over. 7 into 37, 7 fives are 35 with 2 over. And 7 into 28 goes 4 times. And that's your answer finished. Okay, the next chapter is chapter 4, negatives. They're split into two. There's adding and subtracting, go together, then multiplying and dividing, go together. When you're adding and subtracting a negative number, basically the rule is you cannot have two signs side by side. And if both signs are the same, so if signs the same, you put in a positive, and if the signs are different, you put in a negative. So if I look here, I'm starting at 8. Those two become positive because they're the same. 8 plus 13 is 21. And we'll do another one. Minus 4, take away positive 6. This time I'm starting the number line at minus 4. Different signs become minus, take away 6. So I'm starting the number line at minus 4 and I'm going down 6. So I arrive at minus 10. And we'll just do one more for completeness sake here. If you had 3 add minus 2. So you're starting at an ordinary 3 in the number line. That becomes a minus. 3 take away 2 is 1. So it's really simple. When you're adding or subtracting, the first number tells you where you're starting at. And just make sure you don't have two signs side by side. And that's pretty straightforward. When you're multiplying and dividing negative numbers, what I would always do is do the sign first and then the calculation. That makes things a lot easier. Now you saw me doing an example on the previous page to do with multiplying decimals. Let's see it in a wee bit more, or multiplying negatives. See it in a wee bit more detail now. Say if I had minus 2 times minus 3. Two minuses are the same, answer's positive, 2, 3, 6. Just do it in a two-stage problem. 15 divided by minus 3. That's a positive 15, a negative 3, different signs, so it's a negative answer. 15 divided by 3, 5. And you just carry on doing that. So I'll have a look at some more awkward numbers here. 5.6 times negative 2. Positive, negative, gives you a negative. 5.6 times 2. If you need to do that over the side, feel free. Just go over the side and write it out. 11.2. We'll do another more awkward one here. 9.46 divided by minus 0.2. Positive and negative gives you a negative answer. Now I'm definitely going to go over to the side to work this one out. So it's 9.46 divided by a decimal. So I write it like a fraction. I'm going to move the decimal point once, move it once up there. So it's 94.6 divided by 2, which is perfectly easy to do. 2 into 9 goes 4 times, is 1 over. 2 into 14 goes 7 times. And 2 into 6 goes 3. The decimal point just carries over. So I've got my negative sitting there. And there's my answer. So as long as you remember, adding and subtracting go together, and multiplying and dividing go together when dealing with negatives. That's all there is to that.